What's going on, Paul? Where are you? Are you singing, Gene?
He's like, we work hard for you. We put this out. You're going to like it. You wanted us to put out live. This is live. Now I'm going to go make a pizza.
Make me a pizza, Paul.
His pizza did like fire the other day, though.
It did. He did.
It was a nice, thicker crust. Yeah.
He had that little smirk of like, and I didn't burn it this time either, bitches.
Your company can win over, too.
Don't own the sticker. Don't crinkle the sticker.
It's fine, dude. Okay. Dude, I got. What do you want to do with the sticker?
I saved the sticker like
save that whole package.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Are you gonna put it on the cardboard?
Have you not listened to your elders, my friend?
Are you gonna put it on the cardboard?
No, I'm going to save the sticker.
I've listened to the elder, but I don't listen to.
Okay,
my
you
elder.
have listened.
I've listened to the elder.
Okay. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to. I'm going to do this again because I changed what this is going to be called. All right, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Right Between the Eyes podcast, a KISS podcast with 3 generations of KISS fans telling you why we love it loud. I'm one of your hosts, Rob Myers. Welcome to RBTE Roundtable 1. Unfortunately, I am the only one that is here this evening. Nick and Nico weren't able to make this as it's been kind of hard scheduling the podcast with things that are going on here in the Myers household, and we'll talk about that probably on the official RBTE podcast, the audio version. We were actually going to record this week of the thing that you're getting ready to watch, and Nick came down basically being sick, just not being able to, kind of lost his voice, for lack of a better word. He said, I kind of sound hoarse. So the window of opportunity that I had to record, I was like, I really want to do something. So I was in touch with Brant from In My Head channel. So you're going to see that here in just a second. We were kind of put together this thing, and I'll explain that on the video with Brant. But RBTE will be recording. I'm looking at my calendar here. If all things go well, the 27th of this month, we're going to get an official episode out for everybody. So thanks for being patient. We just got some issues here that is kind of preventing us to be able to record in the Myers household at the moment. So we will be hit or miss. Again, we'll talk more about that on the audio side. But moving forward, we do have something here for you to be able to watch on YouTube, which is always very cool to do. Like I said, with Nick and Nico not being able to do it, I kind of wanted to have somebody to banter off of with, and I thought, oh, Brant is going to be the guy to do it. So let's get out our social media handles as I'm pulling up the information here really quick. You can find us on Twitter at RBTE Podcast. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/Right Between the Eyes Podcast. As you can see, I'm reading off to the side here. We have an email. You can email the show at rightbetweentheeyespodcast@gmail.com. We have an Instagram page. Of course, we're on YouTube, as you see right here. And if you listen to the podcast through Apple Music or any of your podcast catchers, rate and leave a review, and we will read those on the show as well. And as you can see, I finally got it here. I think I could show it on our channel. The RBTE hat. We have hats, shirts, sweatshirts. I think you can get a mug, and that is from virtualmerchbooths.com. And hopefully I've got the annotations running here. It will be in the description for this video. virtualmerchbooths.com/RBTE podcast. And you can see a whole bunch of other podcasts and shows that they help with merchandise, and they are also the people behind Repro Tees. If you found some of those old concert t-shirts, you're like, oh, I wish I could pick up the Revenge 1992 tour t-shirt, you can find it on Repro Tees. And again, they are partnered with Virtual Merch Booths, kind of the same. It's an offshoot. So if you want to get yourself a sweet RBTE hat, that would be awesome. It'll help out the show, and obviously for our partners at virtualmerchbooths.com. So we'll get right into it. We're going to talk about some stuff. This is actually Sunday after Record Store Day, so I do have a couple Record Store Day things to show, but that will be at the end of Brant and I's roundtable. And I think just the way that this video came to be, if Nick and Nico and I had been able to record on last Thursday, I don't know if I would have thought to do this roundtable idea. So the goal of this with Nick and Nico, obviously maybe for the next one hopefully, is to get other fellow KISS podcasters to come on the show and there not be any real topic. It's just putting some KISS fans in a room and just talking about Kiss and whatever topics maybe are new in the media or what Kiss is currently doing. Or if somebody says, hey, I've been listening to, we'll pull Nico's favorite album, Rock and Roll Over. I never noticed blah, blah, blah. And that's where the conversations are going to go. So I think I kind of intro that a little bit more in the actual video, but I'm going to quit rambling right here. Thanks for tuning in. Again, sorry for delay in podcasting, but sometimes family things come up and we just got to deal with them. And the podcast is will be intermittent from time to time, but when we get a chance to put something out, we hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks for watching and listening to the show. So let's just get into it. This is RBTE Roundtable 1.
So we can start however you want to start, however you feel like you want to get into it.
Like, we'll just get into it awkwardly as, two dudes bumping into each other and, oh, you've got a Kiss shirt on and I got a Kiss shirt on. You must like Kiss. Yeah. So this is the awkward intro, folks, that Rob hasn't figured out what we're doing yet. This is the first roundtable discussion for RBTE Roundtable.
Small. It's very small table today.
Right, very small. Only 2 chairs. I invited a bunch of people, and I said, oh, you can't come over because Brant got here first. He's sitting in the only chair. So
the really cool thing about the software that we're using to do this is we can actually have up to 10 people in here.
That's awesome. And at one point, I messaged Rick from It's All For You Demon. He said he was busy tonight. Pasquale for Kiss Army Nation podcast. He said he was busy tonight. Xander, this is a plug for everybody else's Kiss show but ours. Xander from Kiss Army Things. He's like, you were at a play yesterday. Xander is at one today, so I'm kind of curious what he was at from, like I said, Kiss Army Things. I had actually reached out to Tom from Shout It Out Loudcast. He was busy. And so I was like, oh, well, we'll just go with Brant. No, actually, Brant was the first one that I suggested, like, hey, I peeked behind the curtain. Brant and I recorded something yesterday for his channel, and I've been busy. Has that been uploaded yet, or did Friday?
It'll be uploaded tomorrow. I did not get, I usually was going to put the finishing touches on it during my breaks and my lunch at work today. And I did not get the opportunity to do it at all. My Friday was a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday all rolled into one. I think I did more work today than I usually do in a week. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it will be up by the time this video drops. It'll be up most likely at the time we're recording this on a Friday night. My video will probably be up tomorrow afternoon, the 22nd of April.
And so this will probably be a next weeker for us because starting off with the round table, we're really not having like any specific topic of like, okay, tonight we're talking about Poughkeepsie off the soundboard and only off the soundboard. It's going to be whatever is in our heads. Wink, wink there. For kissing. Yeah, there it is. I got it in there. So again, I said at the beginning of the show, but you please welcome Brant from In My Head podcast. And these are just going to be kind of free range chickens. The only word I can think to describe it. If you've got 2 dudes sitting around, you go, hey, you like Kiss? I like Kiss. I mean, there's going to be some topic things. We're going to talk about some end of the road now that Kiss is, I wouldn't say, are they officially back on? Is this the final 50 or is this not counted because, well, they're doing a festival here and they're doing some South America stuff here. So I do see that in some of the VIP photos that people are taking, the new banner of the circle, the 50th anniversary and stuff like that is behind them now, and gone is the end of the road. So maybe we should just start talking there. I think everybody in the Kiss family and Kiss podcasting and fandom took a really deep breath when Gene got a little overheated and had to sit down for, part of Say Yeah, which, these are the larger than life heroes, and there sits the demon sitting in a chair, and all of a sudden the stuff goes through your mind of like, dude is 70, he's going to be turning 72 while out on tour this year. And that kind of makes you take a little breath. Like, these guys aren't Superman, not that I want to start off on a morbid thing, but I'm like, I really hope they're healthy for the whole entire tour. And I feel like we're reaching a diverging line of, are they going to make it all the way through it? I'm not trying to say, and I don't want to see anybody collapse on stage, but what a heart-stopping moment that could have been while they're in South America. And, you know, and true to Gene, he stopped. They took like a 5-10 minute break. He got rehydrated and come out. So now that I rambled on there, Brant, like, what do you think about KISS in their current age, where you've got 2 members in their 70s and you've got 2 others that are in their late to mid 60s, being Eric and Tommy? Do you think maybe the tour should have been done a while ago, or fingers crossed, let's make it to the finish line?
Do you think, first before I answer that question, I want to ask you a question. Do you think we were told 100% the truth about what it was?
The conspiracy theorist that I married, my wife, she's always got an inside, like, well, I wonder, you know, this is what we're saying, but what is it? I don't know. I want to believe in my heart of hearts that this is what it was. And Gene took to Twitter, you know, shortly thereafter and said, I'm fine. It was just, you know, a little dehydrated.
I mean, when you
go ahead. I was going to say,
you got your show, you go.
Yeah, that's my show. You quiet now. When I know just from working in a factory that when you get hot, we've had some people kind of pass out from dehydration, or just they lose their color, whether they pass out or not. You usually don't send those people right back out to work. Like, all right, you're going to go to the doctor. You're going to do this. You're going to put them in the air conditioning unless you get, you know, lightheaded because of heat. But being that it was extremely hot and Gene is wearing 40 to 50 pounds of stuff and black and silver, I don't know. I don't know if I 100% believe it was dehydration or was he pissed off. And like, I mean, the video is, you're looking at it, and I'm not trying to say anybody in the KISS organization's a liar or anything like that. It just, it seemed funny that 5 to 10 minutes later, they're right back in and the show goes off without a hitch. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes me wonder. Maybe did he not eat enough that day? Maybe he was dehydrated. You know, they could have been working. Could have been in 116 degree temperatures. We all know that Gene is a little bit of a snack food guy, and he likes his cakes and he likes his
sugar
sweets.
Will do it to you.
And those things. Yeah, they give you that rush right off, but they don't sustain. They're not like protein or some of your more complex starches like potatoes and pastas that stick with you. So, I mean, he could have just been dehydrated and not eaten enough. I know sometimes I'll be out in my yard and I'll be working during the summer. It'll be 100 degrees out there. And, sometimes you just start getting a little woozy and everything starts getting really bright and you feel like, oh, I'm getting ready to pass out. And let me get off this lawnmower here and go sit in the shade for a little bit and drink me some water. And then after about 5 minutes or so, you feel better. Yeah. So, I mean, it's entirely possible. You mentioned about the costumes. Also, the thing, they've got these full body, like black suits that they put on under their, that Gene has on under his stuff.
Oh yeah.
And
full body
those
leotard.
Things, those things don't breathe very well. They're probably dripping with sweat. And whenever they pull those things off, water probably just falls out of them because those things don't breathe very well. I mean, I like to think it's that too. But now getting to your question, me personally, I think that I want to believe KISS when they say, had we not had COVID, had we not had to go through COVID, we'd be done by now. Okay. But you're right here at the 50th anniversary. Even with COVID, you're right here at the 50th anniversary.
3 years ago would have put him at if I'm doing math really quick on a Friday night, 47. You mean to tell me that they were going to stop 3 years shy of their 50th anniversary?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. What I think we can look forward to, and I may be wrong, and I'm actually trying to put the most positive spin on this as possible because I've been accused of being very cynical when it comes to KISS, and I'm not a true KISS fan.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, I don't even know what that is. But I think that we've not seen the last of KISS even after the tour dates on December. The beginning of December. I don't think we've seen the last of them. I think it's the end of the road.
That's what I think. Yeah.
And they've already like you said, they've already kind of pushed that marketing of end of the road to the side. And it's like, okay, guys, we need to do something new. This end of the road, we're getting too much. It's becoming the never ending end of the road tour and stuff like that. So we need a new branding. And if you work in marketing and everything, you and KISS are market moguls, moguls, not Mongols, not Mongolians.
Mongoloid man is Gene.
They're right. Mongols. It's Friday night. I've not been drinking, but they had to rebrand themselves. They had to rebrand this tour, and I think that it's what we're seeing is the end of this. But they're definitely going to do things. They're not celebrating the 50th anniversary. Yeah, they're celebrating it, but this is almost like what I'd call a pre-celebration. Yeah. This is the what do they call it when you go to a football game? This is the tailgating. This is the tailgating shows. And I honestly, I'm going to go out here and say it, and I may be wrong. And if I'm wrong, I don't hate KISS one way or the other, but I think next year, 50th anniversary, there are going to be some very limited engagement shows, meaning they are not going to be maybe a Vegas vacancy. I know Gene has talked about how he would like to do something like that.
If you remember before COVID, actually during COVID, they were still talking. I remember sitting in the lawn at the Clarkston, Michigan show and seeing advertisements for the Vegas residency. And 2 nights after we saw them in Clarkston, Michigan, they canceled the Vegas residency. So I can't believe they were like, we're never going to do it. I think you're absolutely right. Gene was like, we're going to put a pause on this. The 50th anniversary of the first album is coming out, in 24. Maybe we'll do something like that. I fully agree with you that it would be places. My wife's like, they're never not going to quit playing. I said, you're absolutely right. But it'll be, hey, it's the anniversary of this thing. We're going to play Chicago, Detroit, LA, and they're not going to come to Toledo, Ohio. They're not
New York,
Yeah. They'll hit the big marketplaces.
They won't be coming to Greensboro, North Carolina, or Charlotte, North Carolina, or things like that. They're not even really coming that way. I think the closest they're coming to me is Knoxville. Yeah. Tennessee. So they're not even really coming close this time around. It's kind of even little more limited run. And honestly, but I don't think that we're going to see a whole lot of. They're not going to redo their stage. I think we'll still see the end of the road stage.
Actually, I think the stage is new-ish.
New-ish.
I think it is. From at least the pictures I've seen, there hasn't been a great pictures. Again, these are festival shows, so they're not bringing the whole and they're in South America, so they're not bringing the whole A game in. But Eric does have a new kit for Europe, and I have on good authority from speaking to Billy Baker that we have seen one of Eric's kits, and I swore to secrecy. I won't say anything. I know what the primary U.S. kit is going to look like, and when we see these pictures, I think it's going to blow some people away. But that being said, the pictures from South America, there is a row of LED, like, for lack of a better word, screens underneath Eric's drum set, where sometimes they look like amplifiers and stuff like that. So I think for the tail end of the last round at the end of the road that I saw, that's where all the canned lights were and stuff like that. I think those are gone. This almost looks like the Millennium concert staging a little bit, where it was like all that flat speaker type stuff, but different, but more screen stuff. So I think there's some significance, probably the big word. There's some probably noticeable changes. The cats aren't on either side of Eric's kit anymore. Again, that could be just because it's South America and they're like, we're not flying these cats over. So yeah, I think there is going to be some change. And right now there's only a 1 song change in the set, and that's Making Love. And I'm like, come on.
To me, that's honestly, if they want to come out in the same costumes, in the same set, I don't care, or in the same stage, I don't care. what I would like for them to do if they do come out on some 50th anniversary dates is celebrate the deep cuts, play songs that we've not heard in years. Maybe if I had my rathers, I'd rather hear a song that I've never heard live ever. Pull something off an album that they've never played live.
You know what album? What's the one album Kiss has never played a song from? And the Elders got some live play, even if it's been on a Kiss cruise. There's one album in the catalog that Gene and Paul have never played live.
They've never played anything live off of Carnival of Souls, have they?
Carnival of Souls, correct.
Yeah.
Now, like hearing what Doc,
such a shame.
Such a shame. Something like Doc would say, like nobody, I'm just saying Childhood's End just for the lack of argument, or Mr. Speed. Nobody wants to hear Mr. Speed. There's going to be 12. Paul says only 4 people in the audience are going to know that song.
Bull crap.
Bull crap. But what I do say is you had videos for Rise to It, Unholy, Domino, Who Wants to Be Lonely. I know they're all Paul songs, but songs that were singles, Fits Like a Glove, that's on the Poughkeepsie soundboard. That was a staple. Like when Paul introduces Tears Are Falling Now, he says, this is a song that came out in 1985. Some of you weren't born then. I'm like, Paul, the majority of your set list is from 1974. If those people weren't born in 1985, they're sure as heck weren't born in 1976. So they're not going to know Love Gun, Detroit Rock City. I mean, yes, they do. So that argument is there were other songs you guys were doing for the 80s and 90s. You can pull those out because people like us that went to those shows, we're going to know those songs.
Exactly.
The average listener, when they play Let's Go Rock and Roll, Let Me Go Rock and Roll, my wife's like, which one is this again? And it takes her. She's like, oh. But if they started doing Who Wants to Be Lonely, she would go, oh, I know that song because it was a single, because it was a video, etc. Hide Your Heart needs to come back in the set list. I'm getting off on a tangent. Brant, save me.
Like I said, if I was somebody that was coming to the show, if they wanted to convince me, if they came in front of me and they sat down in front of me, which they're not going to do, and they're like, listen, we want to charge you $250. We want you to pay $250 a ticket, which is on average what it's going to cost me if I go. Mm-hmm. And we're going. But what can we do to convince you to come? Change our costumes, change our stage, or change out 80% of the songs in the set. And I'd be like, make it 90 and I'll consider, because, and I want to see what those songs are. Is it just rehashing stuff that you've done recently, or are you going to play some stuff that you've done forever? Not done in forever. Honestly, I know a lot of people, they're like, oh, the only way I'm going to come back and see a Kiss is if they bring Ace and Peter back. I'm not trying to sound sacrilegious or nothing, because I love both of those guys.
Yeah.
I would love to see that, but not even that would get me back there. Just play the same stuff that they've been playing for the last 20, 25 years, and then bringing Ace and Peter up for songs with them for years. Cold Gin, Deuce, Rock and Roll All Night.
You're going to play more
Detroit
of the exact same songs.
If they bring them up like a little small set. Yeah. To me, I want to hear songs I've never heard. I'd love to hear Mr. Speed. Come out with Mr. Speed. Yeah. Come out with Love Her All I Can. Come out with, She. We've not heard She in years.
Right.
Come out with songs that either we've not heard or we've not heard in a long time, not just from the 70s, but from the 80s too. The 80s has a lot of good songs that have not been heard in years.
You could pull in a Domino, an Unholy, a Rise to It. I know Hide Your Heart was in the early part of The End of the Road. And Nico would kick me under the table if he's here right now. I Stole Your Love. Right. I would think, especially now, this is when you change your opener. You make I Stole Your Love the opening, roll into King of the Nighttime World, and save Detroit towards the tail end of the set of your big guns.
It used to be the first song in the encore.
Yeah.
Well, kind of spinning off of this, I have a question.
Shoot.
God, did it just leave me? I think it might have just left me.
This is what happens when we're at the round table. There's not enough chairs to go around, so it's like back to you.
Yeah, goes back. It swings back to me. I had a question that I was going to ask, and I can't remember what it is. Maybe it'll come back to me. You can cut that part. Maybe it'll come back to me. I don't know if it necessarily has to do with what we're talking about. But
yeah. Well,
I don't think we're done. I don't think we're done seeing. No. I don't think we're done. They're definitely going to do something in the 50th official year. They're going to do something.
Yeah. But I think the days of me buying a concert ticket, knowing that they're going to come to Ohio or Indiana, Illinois, somewhere in that tri-state area, that I'll get to see them again and not have to drive 12 hours out of my way to do it. I think those days are over.
Right.
Oh,
I remember what I was going to ask. Why do you think KISS doesn't do what a lot of bands does these days? KISS has talked about how we're not interested in putting out a new album. We're not interested in putting out a new album. But yet you have bands that have maybe not been around as long as KISS has, but you have bands that are still putting out albums. Metallica just put out a new album.
Extreme.
God, the thing kicks butt.
Yeah.
Why does KISS not, like LA Guns just put out a new album? But before they put out that new album, Skid Row just put out a new album. But a lot of times before these bands put out these albums, they would release a song every once in a while, like maybe every 6 months or whatever. Why does KISS not get together? Why does Paul and Gene not get together and write a song, or even pull in an outside writer and them take a week to go in the studio and record a song and release it? Do you feel like that's beneath them? Do you feel like they just don't have the drive, or they don't care to put in the effort? Because I know there's a lot of fans out there that they really don't want the last official release that KISS ever made to be "Get Off My Ascot" or whatever.
Right.
I
mean, Monster. Samurai Son.
Why do you think they don't do that? Why do they not at least do the release one? Because they feel like KISS feels like this is releasing new material to KISS. Why do we have to go in the studio and record? We're just going to give you off the soundboard recordings. This is Poughkeepsie, by the way. We're going to give you off the soundboard recordings of songs that we did back in 1984. But why don't they?
I feel like Gene's going, well, if you want to hear Fits Like a Glove, we'll buy Poughkeepsie. That's your way you're going to hear the song. Yeah, I think it's a little bit of that. I think it's a bit of they haven't done it for, like, I think if Sonic Boom and Monster would have went like gangbusters, that they would be like, oh, well, you liked that? We've got something else for you.
Yeah.
The fact that the albums, I mean, Sonic Boom entered the charts at what, 6 and made it to 2, I think is its highest charting. I'll probably put an annotation somewhere on the screen where Rob was an idiot and said blah blah blah, but it at least was in the top 5, and I can't remember where Monster came at. Maybe it was the one that went to 2 anyway. But Paul has a thing of like, Psycho Circus is just now getting to that point where it's starting to become a classic because we played long enough. And my argument was always, well, then why did you ever write the Love Gun album? Why did you do Rock and Roll Over and Dynasty and Creatures and Lick It Up? Like, why were you playing anything off Lick It Up? Nobody knows that song.
Right.
You played Monster and Sonic Boom just for a brief year or two, and Say Yaz lasted for a while.
Right. I mean,
I don't know if they're just like
if they feel like that them putting out them albums didn't serve any purpose, then why are they still playing some songs off of them?
Yeah, I just don't know if they're like, we've got enough songs. It's funny. There was,
what I think it is, not to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Hold that thought. This is what I just think it is. This is what it just popped in my head. Because I'm sitting here going, okay, that bands like LA Guns are not selling albums hand over fist. They're probably getting mostly streams.
Right.
Bands like Poison, who used to be huge. Bands like Def Leppard is putting out a symphonic backed stuff. The Metallica albums sell like gangbusters because it's freaking Metallica. But and even though they have their critics, the Metallica album, like a lot of places, it's sold out. I was in Pigeon Forge this past week, and they had 4 left, and I was sitting there going, "Man, that Metallica album must not be selling good." And I was like, I went up there to the guy, and I didn't buy it because I wanted to stream it before I actually bought it. And I went to the owner of the store, and I said, "You heard that new Metallica album?" He's like, "Oh yeah, man, it kicks ass." And I was like, "Yeah, that's I think so too." And I said, "I noticed you've not been selling many of them. I see you got 4 over there on the shelf." He said, "Dude, I've already sold 2 cases." He's like, "That's what I got left. I got more on order." And so, but I think with Kiss, it's almost like, and once again, I'm not trying to talk bad about them, but I think with Kiss, it's not a good, Kiss is very much business. They're a brand. They call themselves a band, but they also are a brand. And I think that the money they have to invest into renting a studio and putting aside whatever they're doing to write songs and then rehearse and then go into the studio and do it, it's not a good return on their investment. They don't care that the fans want more music from them and would love to have new music. They may not sell. They may not even break gold. They may not even sell 100,000 copies. They may sell 50,000 copies. But heck, if I put out an album, I would love if I put out an album and sold 50,000 copies. I think I was at the top of the world.
Yeah.
But to them, a band that has so much money and has a huge merchandising machine that is just like a juggernaut of merchandising. And I mean, don't get me wrong, because like I said, this is merchandise to Kiss. This is merchandise. What we're holding in our hand is merchandise.
Look behind us on our shelves and stuff.
Right.
I think the days of Kiss being a band, they're an IP. They're an intellectual property. If you can slap the Kiss logo on it for very cheap. So
they're behind doing things like this, and they're behind doing things like this. So they do this. Yeah, we got them. We got them too. We got them both. Yep. They do this rather than put out albums. They put out box sets. They put out deluxe releases. They put out off the soundboard. They put out trading cards. They put out pens. They put out guitar picks. And this is what Kiss is. That's what Kiss is about these days. And honestly, it takes, there you go. It takes little to no effort from them personally. Putting this stuff out takes very little effort because they've got the machine and the marketing and the people in place to do these things for them.
Yeah.
Kiss is focused this next year. Gene and Paul's focused this next year. I'm going to go and tell you, it's going to be the Netflix special. That is moving forward. It is coming.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, they better do a good job at it because fans like me and you and Xander, I've already heard Xander was talking about it with Daphne or either with Jeb. But they're talking about, I think it might have been Jeb because they were talking about the Spinning Gold movie.
Yeah.
And they're like, I didn't get on them too much. Paraphrasing you, Xander. I didn't get on them too much because this movie wasn't about Kiss. Kiss was a part of this movie. So the things that they didn't get wrong, the things they didn't do right, even all the way down to the makeup and stuff like that, I was like, whatever. He's like, but now the Netflix movie, he's like, I'm going to have my freaking microscope out like I did with the Motley Crue movie, the Motley Crue biopic.
Right.
I did a review of that, picking the thing apart. Now, at the end of the day, did I enjoy it? Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think the first week it came out, I probably watched it 20 times. It's great entertainment. Is it factual? Not entirely. So,
if I can get to it really quick, one of the best things they had put out in a long time was the A&E biography.
Yeah.
Where this is a video that's sanctioned by Kiss, and it might have been skewed to Gene and Paul, and Ace and Peter might have wanted more money for it, yada yada yada, whatever.
Right.
But this was something that's in you can't go to a record store and pick this up. I think I got this on Amazon. They weren't even putting it out on their own because A&E owns it. But like the soundboards and things like that. But to go back to what you were saying about music, like I've been playing the heck out of the 3 Extreme songs that they have put out, and they are, to quote Nico, they all 3 slap. Winger is getting ready to release a brand new album, and the 3 Sides guys were interviewing Kip, and he says it's about creating. He said hearing people saying, there's no return. He's like, he's aware that the albums don't sell as much as they used to, and it's all based on streams and stuff like that. He says, but there's a creative energy that's in him that says, I need to get this out and put it in some form, whether it's his classical music stuff that he writes or for Winger as a band. And I'm going, I can't believe Paul and Gene are just sitting there with their arms crossed and going, like, full well for the 50th anniversary, I'm surprised there's not a best of CD that Universal isn't sitting on somewhere. And if I was Universal, I would go to Kiss and go, we at least want a new song to put on this 50th anniversary. Just give us one. And I don't even care if you got to go back to the vaults and go, all right, what was something that we recorded that at least you could put out, have a 2 CD set, side 1 or disc 1 is a Paul song, disc 2 is Gene, and then you've got, all your stuff. A 50th anniversary compilation is coming somewhere from somebody. Why not do something like that? But like you said, Paul and Gene are like, why put forth, and you've heard Paul say in interviews, why put forth the effort for people to kind of crap on it?
Right.
Bring in the outside writers, get back with a Desmond Child, a Bob Ezrin, put your best polished fruit forward. And then I think Paul and Gene at the end of the day want to be able to say, we wrote that. That's our stuff, and not get a #1 smash and go, oh, we had to have Desmond Child write that for you. Kiss fans don't care. Some of the best songs were written with other co-writers.
Yep. When me and you and my son were doing, can we improve Rock and Roll Over?
Yeah.
He made a statement at the end. He said, basically what Kiss needed, what we could have done to improve, what Kiss could have done to improve Rock and Roll Over is have Sean Delaney co-write every single song. because his favorite songs off of Rock and Roll Over has Sean Delaney as a co-write.
Yeah. And I mean, there's plenty of bands that don't write their own material or have 6 different writers on it. And that's cool, because at the end of the day, you're singing that song at the top of your lungs just because you like the song and like the band.
Exactly. Yeah. Who might have played on it, or did Ace do this solo, or did Bob Kulick, or did Peter play on this song, or did Anton Fig? At the end of the day, you really don't care.
I don't care,
because Kiss has been doing Smoke and Mirrors since the very beginning. I mean, they've done smoke and mirrors and makeup and flash bombs and anything to distract, and not distract, but to add to.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, and one of the popular opinions out there of people that aren't Kiss fans, like, my wife's not the biggest Kiss fan, and I know some people that, they're not the biggest Kiss fans, and their biggest complaint with Kiss was that, like, what they need the makeup, they need the merchandising, they need the big show, because their songs aren't that good and they're not that great musicians. And I'm like, I will fight you to the end on that, because songs are that good, and they are that good of musicians. They're very underappreciated as far as song goes. And with the makeup and with all the costumes and stuff like that, would they have been as big? Would we have all this nostalgia behind us? Would we have the branding that we have that no other band has? No, probably not. But I'm not saying that they couldn't have been a big band based on their songs and based off of their performing. I think they could have still been a big band. That's a very unpopular opinion. Most people don't agree with that. But I do. I think Kiss is one of those bands that, even without the makeup and without the flashy show, I think they would have still been a good band. Yeah.
I mean, and the 80s kind of proved it. Yes, they were able to have that 70s, early 80s nostalgia with the makeup guiding them.
Yeah.
But once you start getting into the mid 80s, I mean, Crazy Nights was a platinum selling album. And whether you like or hate smashes, thrashes, and hits, it was a massive thing for them. Lick It Up and all that. So they proved they didn't need all of the glitter, so to speak. They could come out
in the 80s. They did everything else that all the other bands was doing. They had the same show. They had, they had the lights and the they still had costumes. They just looked like everybody else's costumes. They still wore makeup. They just wore makeup like everybody else did. They conformed, and they actually performed well and sold well during that time. They actually became, I'd be dared to say that they probably became a little more commercially acceptable without the makeup. They may have not been commercially acceptable to the hardcore fans, but they were selling platinum albums with Crazy Nights and Hot in the Shade and with Lick It Up and Animalize, and they were selling. I think that I think I'm staying in that camp of that. If they would have took off the makeup for Creatures one album earlier, Creatures would have been bigger. It would have been huge. It would have been huge. I think so too. It would have been huge because people were just, the general public was tired of the joke of the makeup. And to a lot of people, even today, whenever I talk about people, I'll be out in public or whatever talking to people, and I'll be like, yeah, I have a YouTube channel. Oh, you have a YouTube channel? What's your YouTube channel about? Well, I talk a lot about the band Kiss. Really? You have a YouTube channel? And for Kiss? I'm like, well, I talk about other stuff too. Yeah, but you mostly talk about Kiss. And I start getting these looks like, okay.
I hear you.
And because to a lot of people, if they're not Kiss fans, they'll listen to Rock and Roll All Night and they'll listen to Crazy, Crazy Nights. But outside the songs, Kiss is a joke. They're a joke to them.
Which I feel like we play right into Paul's hand of going, see, that's why we're playing Rock and Roll All Night and Deuce and all those, because you can turn on any classic rock station and hear those. It's a rare treat to hear. Like every once in a while, Hair Nation will play Rise to It, and I'm cranking that up. I'm like, something that's not cold gin. Yeah, just
like, turn it up.
Yeah. I mean, it was probably 6 months ago, but I heard Jungle on the radio, and I haven't heard Jungle since they put that out for that brief moment. I'm like, I can't believe I'm hearing Jungle. I would lose my mind if they played something. I know they're not going to, and there's a bunch of Kiss fans right now that are typing on their keyboards, Rob, wake up. They're not playing anything like that. I get it, but I look at a band like Styx. They put out a new album last year. They're still going deep through their catalog. You can look at Journey too, that's currently celebrating their 50th anniversary, and their set is mostly comprised of the classic, tried and true classic rock radio station anthems, but they also managed to record a new album before they went out and toured. And I go, I just can't believe, we'll get off this album kick in just a second, but I'm like, you've got, all those bands that we just mentioned. There's rumor of Richie Sambora coming back to Bon Jovi. They're going to go in the studio and they're going to record something. Yeah. And Gene and Paul are going to sit there and let Styx, Extreme, Metallica, and like all these bands record music around them. And those albums all to be selling very well to extremely well. That kind of blows me away.
Yep. All right, we'll get off the album kick.
Okay, I do want to stay on the album kick for one more second. Tomorrow is Record Store Day. So coming out, as far as Kiss fans, this album, Eric Carr's Rockology, is
I'm going to go try to get it. I'm going to
re-released
in the morning and try to get it.
I am planning on going to a local, it's literally a hole-in-the-wall record shop. And I don't know what your weather is going to be like where you are. It's supposed to be cold and rainy, but I'm prepared. The store opens at 10. I'm prepared to be at the store at 6 o'clock in the morning and sit outside of my stupid lawn chair in a poncho in the rain, because I want to get the album. It'll be, for people who don't know, they're re-releasing the Eric Carr family. I forget who the record company that's producing it is, but they're doing a new cover and artwork. And the cover is going to look like the classic 1978 studio album covers. I think the painting has existed for quite a while, that the family commissioned him to do a solo portrait of Eric. So you could line all the 78 Kiss solo albums up and slide Rockology right next to it. So it's coming out on vinyl, and there'll be a poster again that's going to look just like the 78 posters, that you could slide it right next to the end of the Peter Criss poster and continue that star pattern on.
That's going to be so sweet.
So I think the vinyl is
nice weather here tomorrow.
Yeah, it's supposed to be cold and rainy. The vinyl is getting pressed for, I think, 4,000 copies worldwide. The CD version, as we were told, was only getting pressed for 500 copies. So I know my location, they were at least showing one on their shelf. So I'm kind of hoping to be able to get the CD version and the vinyl. If I don't get the CD, that's fine, but I want the vinyl. So you did say you were planning on going. Is there anything else Record Store Day that you're like, oh, I know Van Halen is releasing their live album. It's going to be the start of the Hagar era of the vinyl albums. Anything else, or is it just Eric Carr and that's it?
No, not really. I mean, if I get in there and I see something, like I've gone in there before to buy something Ace Frehley related or Kiss related. Usually Kiss don't put out anything. It's usually Ace has some Record Store Day stuff, and I'll get in there. And one time I saw a Dio picture disc that was punched out for, I think it was for Holy Diver, and I bought it. And every once in a while I'll get in there and I'll buy something else that he has. But no, I'm just going and trying to get a copy of Eric tomorrow.
It's going to have a couple new tracks. There is a remix of blanking on the song here. Can You Feel It? A more updated mix, and then there's a couple other tracks that they didn't put on the original release. And I was listening to it today to kind of, get familiar with it again. And I like it. There's plenty of songs on there that I would go, man, I would have loved to, because a good chunk of them is Eric just doing like scat vocals, trying to get it flushed out. But there's some completed songs on there that you go, man, that could have been on Hot in the Shade. That could have been on Lick It Up or Animalize or something like that. Where when you and I did Animalize on your channel, we were kind of picking apart a couple Gene songs. I was like, this Eric Carr song is better than the bottom two Gene songs on Animalize.
Right.
But so yeah, that was the last bit of a record thing I had. Just curious if you were headed out to pick that up. Are you going to try and be there when the store opens and cross your fingers, or are you going to be like, it's 2:00, I'll see what they got?
He's going to have, I'm sitting here looking at his Facebook page, and he's got here a few peeks of the upcoming releases that came in for Record Day. As usual, we're running our normal hours from 11 to 6.
Ooh.
And I'm sitting here looking down in the very bottom corner, and I don't know how well this will show up, but down there in that very bottom corner, see it right there. So I know that he's got at least one copy. So I'll go down there. I'll probably go there about 9. I probably won't go there super early. I've gone there before, and there's been maybe one person in front of me, and you kind of start getting a feel like, hey man, what you here to get? You hope they don't say, because there was one year I walked up the stairs and there was like 5 people there, and it was a typo negative, the Record Store Day version of Bloody Kisses.
Oh yeah.
And I walked up the stairs, and there's because it's up on the second floor inside this little mini strip mall, so I can at least go inside and wait inside. And
I wish
there was 4 or 5 people in line, and a couple of them looked real goth. I was like,
God, crap.
What y'all
Why
here
can't
to get?
You be a Taylor Swift fan right now?
So what y'all here to get? It's
Yeah.
Think about getting that typo negative, and fortunately he had enough for all of us.
That's cool.
Yeah. I think I ended up with 2 copies that day, because my friend actually was in a record store in Greensboro, and he grabbed one without even asking me. And so I ended up with, I have 2. I have one that I opened and one that's still sealed.
Nice. Last year I went specifically for Alice Cooper's Brutal Planet, because Eric Singer played on the album. And same thing, sitting there long enough, somebody's like, what are you here to get? And I said, oh, Alice Cooper Brutal Planet. And guy was like, is that even a thing? She goes, he probably has one copy, and you're going to be the only guy that wants one. I said, well, that's perfect then. And I bet he had 15 of those.
Yeah.
So the dude that was, right behind me was like, well, apparently other people must want it. Oh, let's see what else we got at the round table here. We were talking about, the magazines and stuff like that, even though I don't think these are 100%, not sanctions. They're not produced by Kiss, but,
right.
Kiss, of course, had to sign off on them. It's really cool to walk through the grocery store or wherever you were at to be able to see, a Kiss magazine, to be able to flip through it. Sent a message on Xander's Kiss Army Things page, and I was like, is it 1980 something that I can buy a Kiss magazine? Some of the information isn't always 100% accurate. We're like, is this done by Netflix? But this newest one from the Life magazine has got some great shots in it. I know you and I talked one time about kind of going through the magazine, but I was really kind of impressed what they did with this one. And Life usually does really good. There was a Beatles one, an Elvis one. I want to say there was something else all in a row at the Walmart that I went to. But what do you think about getting a physical magazine again in a day and age where you're like, can't you just go on the website and just scroll through, and read it?
It is kind of surreal. It's kind of surreal. And you see in the Life magazine, when you were talking about, they start like at the very beginning, they got like a little picture of Gene there. And they got some pretty nice early pictures, and they start with the beginning, and they've got, some pictures of Paul here without his makeup, and then
Eric Carr here.
And they've got pictures of Ace, and then they move on to Wicked Lester, and then with Peter joining the band, and I didn't realize for years. I can't remember when I found out. I think I found out maybe last year or the year before, but it's since I've had my YouTube channel that there for a period when Peter joined the band and they were a threesome, they were still playing under the name Wicked Lester.
Yeah, I just saw that in the last year or so.
They kept that, and I think that might have came out during the biography, or maybe. But and that's when they once they got Ace was when they, the famous taxi ride conversation. Paul, why don't we name the band Kiss? Because they were talking about how Peter's previous band was called Lips. But yeah, it's kind of, that's right. They were Wicked Lester as a new reformed 3-piece band. I'm looking forward to reading through these. I'll be honest, I hadn't got the chance to read through them. Like I said, I feel like the Life one is the pretty more legit of the two. And this one is basically the ultimate guide to Kiss, is put out by Centennial Specials. But I tell you what, just flipping through this, it looks like it's going to be. This looks like it is very factual, and this is something you would find in the reference section of the library. It's going to be very historical, front to back, very historical. This is like, let's slap a 16 magazine logo on this thing, because that's what this, just kind of flipping through it, just with some of the little choices about how they do all these little boxes and stuff like that. It has a very 16 magazine feel to it. But yeah, I mean,
it looks like they focus
albums on, Vinny gets a page, and we got some Eric Carr here. I don't know if I saw Mark St. John.
I think Mark St. John gets a decent sized picture. This makes it for good visual medium that we're not just showing you here, but I know Singer has one tiny little picture. Where's the Mark St. John picture? Because I was really surprised.
There it is. Here it is. Right here. It's Meet Mark St. John.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. And it's basically the cover off of the album. And that looks like that may possibly be basically the whole write-up. They slam. I like how they do this, because I do think these three albums are very much one and the same. Where you got Lick It Up, Animalize, and Asylum. I think that you could take a song off of any one of those albums, because those albums, like, I get confused with sometimes, like, if somebody pops up to me like I do with Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun. Sometimes I get confused. Like somebody says, calling Dr. Love, is that on Love Gun or Rock and Roll Over? Well, I think it's on Rock and Roll Over, but it could be on Love Gun, because it's like they sound so much alike. It's like you could take any way you slice it off of Asylum and slap it on Lick It Up and it would fit.
Yeah.
Just as you could put it on Animalized and it would fit.
Yeah, I really think that comparison you were talking about, we have an idea for a show called Sister Sister, where you would take like Rock and Roll Over, Love Gun, Creatures and Lick It Up, Animalize and Asylum, and pick our 9 like we like to do on the show.
Make an album out of those.
And make an album out of those, and what a killer album that might be. But Lick It Up, you're right, kind of is very much akin to Creatures of the Night, but it tips into probably Animalize more than it does Asylum. Asylum is really starting to get more polished and you get to Crazy Nights. But those 3, Creatures, Lick It Up, and
Creatures has a sound, and even just the content on Creatures is just Creatures always felt like a darker album to me. Like it's
darker than Lick It Up. Yeah.
It's darker. It's a darker album. Just like the 2 Alive albums, Alive and Alive 2. I know there's more than one. But the 2 main ones from the 70s, Alive feels darker and more dangerous. And in some cases, it's a little spooky, like the beginning of Watching You.
Oh, yeah.
Just the way it sounds. And the way that sounds. And Alive 2 sounds more party. It don't sound dark. Even God of Thunder don't really sound dark because they speed it up so much. And it just kind of... so it's like Lick It Up and Creatures. I can see those, but if you ask me, if you're like, hey, is I Still Love You on Creatures of the Night, on Lick It Up? It's on Creatures because it has the same sound as the rest of the album does.
But you could say is Fits Like a Glove or While the City Sleeps. Which of those 2? So on Lick It Up or Animalize? You can kind of. Yeah.
Right, and it starts getting tough. It starts getting like, is Burn Bitch Burn on is Burn Bitch Burn on Lick It Up, or is it on Animalize? Because it could be on either one.
That right there's an idea for a show. Just writing a list of songs, and like Xander, if you're watching, this is what you and Jeb need to do: is Daphne needs to shout out a song, Burn Bitch Burn, and you got like 2 seconds, set a buzzer, but you got to say
Family Feud. Boom.
Yeah,
and you got 3 seconds to answer.
Yeah, we're setting up other people's shows right now.
That's what we do because we care about our other podcast brothers.
That's right. This is the round table, and we're going to decide what the rest of you are.
This is the think tank. It's the think tank. It's the round table.
It's a very shallow think tank, but
more like the think puddle.
Think bottle, yeah. We got all the water out of that. That lasted really quick.
Yeah.
Before we get out of here, I know we've you and I briefly talked about Poughkeepsie, the Crusoes, and this would have been last night or tonight would have been our normal recording. Mm-hmm. While we've got things going on in my household, we found a window to record, and then Nick texted me and said, I lost my voice. I'm not feeling really good. And I was kind of in that mode to want a podcast. So that's where this idea came from. So I think this is going to be a cool idea to kind of bring other people on, or to see how many people we can get around the table. But really quickly, I wanted to ask you about Poughkeepsie, not so much as a review. I don't want to spoil your review or ours, but just the idea that we were talking about Mark St. John. Like, in what universe did you think while you were growing up that somebody was going to tell you someday, hey, you know that guitarist that was there on a Monday and was gone by a Tuesday, so to speak, that you're going to have, I know there's crappy audience bootleg recordings out there, that you're going to get an official Kiss release and you're going to get to hear Mark St. John. Just from when they announced it, did you believe your ears and going, is this really, like, seeing Poughkeepsie 1984? I instantly thought, oh, this is going to be Bruce Kulick, Eric Carr. All right, great. Then I went, oh, wait, did they say Mark St. John? What were your thoughts just when they announced it, and now that you've had it in your hands?
We always do this as Kiss fans. When we're waiting on the next release, we start speculating. What's the next box set? What's the next deluxe? What's the next? We're always ready to move on to the next. And I remember speculating, and I remember thinking, man, it'd be really cool if we got something from the Asylum era, if we got something from maybe the Hot and Shade era, or if we got something from Crazy Nights. But now, I think I'd like to have something hot in the shade. This never crossed my mind. Now, I think I did say it would be cool if they could release something like a non-cleaned up version, because I know they cleaned it up, but a non-cleaned up version of Animalize. Because I remember the Animalize tour when I went and saw it. I saw it twice, and I remember loving it. I remember just having the best time. 15-year-old kid in the crowd, down on the floor, general seating, getting people's bodies pressed up all against you and stuff, being packed in like sardines, and just ultimate cool experience. And I remember loving this show, and I remember I've got great fondness for the Live and Uncensored, but honestly, I didn't expect them to release something around this era. Around this time, I was expecting it to maybe be something a little more further on with Bruce and Eric.
Yeah.
And whenever they said that they were going to release it, and they said it was going to be Mark St. John, and I said this in my video with you, and my video will be released by the time this comes out, so I have no problem saying this. But I was ecstatic. And I, as I said if you've not seen my video, you can go back and see it. I don't want to give away too much, but I don't have too many bad things to say about this release, even though I know there's a lot of people out there that there's a lot of hate for it going on, even in some of the chat groups that I'm in. And that's fine. Everybody has their own, tastes and whatever, and they're right to their own opinions. That's what makes it a great community, is allowing each other to have their own taste and their own opinions about the band and about their releases. But I was happy. I didn't expect it. I was kind of flabbergasted. I kind of was like, what?
Right.
Mark St. John, one of the few shows that he did. And I loved it. I loved that they released this. I'm glad that they did. This is something that I never, ever, ever even fathomed that we would get an actual official release of. Never even fathomed it.
If they said they were doing something from Animalize, I thought, okay, they're going to get the rights for the MTV show, Animalize Live and Uncensored, and we'll get...
Right. That's not real true off the soundboard. That's professionally produced, cleaned up.
That's what I would have thought we would have got. Or if there was an Animalize show, my money would have been like, oh, it'd have been Bruce Kulick. Never thought in a million years we were going to get something. I mean, we said it on your show. The fact that we got the Creatures of the Night box set, we thought, well, that's not going to be a box set. They're got to deal with Vinny. And then to get a live album out of that thing, I'm like, great. We've got Vinny. We've got Mark. We've got Ace. We've got Tommy. Where's Bruce?
Right.
So I'm thinking Crazy Nights, Hot in the Shade. Like, money, it's got to be Hot in the Shade. But I could see them pulling a curveball and doing Crazy Nights, because that was a very popular tour for them, coming off a very successful album. And that would be more chances to hear songs that we haven't heard a bazillion times.
Right.
But
before you wrap it up, I would like to ask you, before we have to, depart, and because we've, been sitting at this table for a little bit, and it's time to get up and move around. What are you still feeling like? What's your feelings on what you think is going to be a box set or a deluxe release this year?
I mean, with the whole 50th anniversary, you got to think they're going to have to announce. When people were like, they're not going to announce the first album box set. That album came out in 1974. They could change it. They could announce it this year and coming out in January, coming out in February on the anniversary of. Hard money for me is saying it's going to be the first album, and that's where we would get official Wicked Lester material. I know there's leaked stuff out there, but sanctioned by Paul and Gene here as a bonus disc or a bonus album or whatever, you're going to get the full Wicked Lester album. It's full treatment.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing.
It'd be kind of hard as old as those songs are, 50 years old, almost really close, that actually some of them are 50 years old now, that there's not much behind the curtains that we haven't already heard previously. I'm sure there's other mixes and stuff like that, or other shows that they've got, on file. And I know Nick Caruso right now would be jumping out of his skin like, hey, we got another live album. It's another audience record. It's another audience recording, very much keeping in tune with the, the Destroyer box set, which, Nick wanted to use his disc as a Frisbee, I think. But that going outside of the box, if it's not Kiss, what would be another album you could do? I mean, you could probably do Love Gun. I mean, they went with Destroyer and then they went with Creatures. So do we still continue to keep moving forward in time and go, all right, they wouldn't do Lick It Up. Would you go into the non-makeup era and do something like a Revenge, or would you do a Crazy Nights? It'd be hard to pick one of the 80s albums to do, right. or is the safe money, we got to keep this in the makeup era. It's got to be Love Gun, Rock and Roll Over. I don't really have an intelligent answer sitting at this table.
I do hope that Lick It Up gets some kind of love. I hope that Lick It Up maybe gets colored.
It's its 40th this year. Yeah.
I hope it gets something.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think when it comes to, I think that maybe they're going to maybe they will announce that there's going to be a Kiss box set, a Kiss first album box set, but it might not get released until later.
Yeah.
I know that other than Animal or other than Poughkeepsie's it for this year so far, isn't it?
Yeah, I think
it's been relatively quiet. I mean, I know that last year was crazy.
When one was announced, when we received one, within a week of pretty much the street date, they were saying, hey, the next one's coming. So I think the plan was to release 6, and they moved away from Creatures, because I think I've got it somewhere on my phone. If I can find it, I'll send it to you. Somebody that works in the record company or just distribution, the next one was supposed to be an acoustic live album of a smattering of Kiss cruise shows, like their acoustic sail away set. I think that was the album that we should have had now. And when Creatures came out, they slid that. I think this is when the Mark St. John thing happened. So I think there's one more tentatively for this year. It could be towards the latter end. Who knows? But hopefully this sold really well. And the fact that we've got 5 of these now, I think that's pretty cool. I would like to see this kind of continue. And it makes me go, will you open the Pandora's box of, they say, well, check your expectations at the door. You gave us Mark friggin' St. John. What else do you have that we might not know? Like, what, maybe as a closing thought here, what is something that you're like, okay, if they've got this, then they surely have to have this thing? What would be something off the beaten path that you would have asked for last year and everybody would have laughed you out of the corner, and now they're going to go, oh, well, okay, sure. If you don't have one, I've got one. The Palladium show, Eric Carr's first show. I think that would be great to get something like that.
Yeah, that'd probably be pretty good. Yeah, I really don't have any particular show or any particular tour or whatever that I'd want to off the soundboard off of. I would, like I said, I would like to see them give Bruce needs to get some love. So we need to have Bruce on one. So I think, whenever me and you were talking during my video, we talked about how it would be good I said it'd be good if they did an Asylum. And you said, well, Asylum is basically just Anima's tour adding, these couple more songs. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. So let's go to a Bruce, Eric singer, and it be Hot in the Shade, right? Or was it Eric Carr? Yeah. So let's go to that. And so, and I think that would be the the one to go with at this point in time. Because Hot in the Shade was say what you want about the album. Hot in the Shade was a great tour.
Oh yeah.
Crazy Nice was a great tour. But if you got those two right there together, then just go ahead and give us Hot in the Shade.
Yeah, I think so too. Much longer set. You're looking at 22, 23 songs. And that would go back to having a three LP set again, which I know some people are like, I don't want to flip the record over 6 times.
Right.
Then buy the CD, but yeah.
Right. And I wonder if we're ever going to get that blue vinyl, because we got it was the weird creamsicle to begin with, and then we got the purplish, and then the reddish, and then the greenish, and then we got custard.
I mean, you could argue and say if you bought the Creatures box set, you did get the blue, but but it wasn't official off the soundboard. So yeah, you went with all the primary Kiss makeup accent colors, and then we got custard. So you went right to the Vinnie's makeup and skipped over Aces.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is where we're going to end this round table. I think, we got to get up out of the chairs, and we could change seats and rotate around the table, but maybe next time we'll pull in some of our other Kiss podcasters. You do have your video coming up for Poughkeepsie that, like you said, by the time this is coming out, you've already seen it. Any sneak peek of something you've got on the back burner that you're working on by the time they see this, it could be the next thing you're announcing?
Well, I still am lining up, going to be going through the fixing the Kiss albums. Can we fix this album? Can we make this album better? And the next one that I've got lined up to do, I'm going to be doing Peter Criss. And I'm going to have I'm trying to get John B. Good to be in that with me. He's a big Peter fan, and I know that you've not gone through that one yet. So
no.
So I may see if Xander wants to sit in on that, because I like having it as a 3 heads on the screen for stuff like that. Or it may just me and John. Me and John are co-producers, and we're going to see what we can leave after we take off the horns and the saxophones and the background singers.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, boom tap, but we're left with drums.
Right.
And then my next thing that's going to be doing that we're gearing up for the summer for June, July, and August is going to be The Panel Has Spoken is going to return. And nice. I am working on my first couple posts that are going to start hitting my social media here in the next few weeks in April. And I'll be collecting data going into early May, and probably film that video in late May, and start the first one in June. It's probably going to be 6 videos altogether in that series. There'll probably be one every other week for, like I said, the months of June, July, and August. And it's always real cool to have everybody involved in those. They'll be going out on my social media. I'm on basically in my head channel on Twitter and on Instagram and here on YouTube. And it's just, I put out polls or have people, hey, what do you think of this? Put your top 5 answers in the comments or whatever. And then I just kind of take some time to pull everything together, and then we do a results video, and you'll probably be involved in some of those as well.
Sweet. Not trying to wave my hand, but I was like, I'll play.
And no, you'll definitely be involved in those.
And a good podcaster, I was going to say, where can people find you at? And Brant, just like a pro, went right on, got his social medias out there. I mean, if you're not watching his channel, go pause this video, go over and watch his, and come back. But like I said, this is where we're going to end our first roundtable. I'm kind of glad that I'm not glad that Nick got sick. I hope he's doing well. Yeah. But I like when like a curveball is thrown, and you're like, all right, I was kind of in the mood to do something, and then this idea kind of sprung, and we were going to do this yesterday, and I texted Brant. I was like, I'm falling asleep on the couch. I'm passing out. Can we do it Friday? And he graciously was like, oh, sure. Great. So I'm glad this got a chance to work out. Hopefully you guys like this. This will be an ongoing segment from time to time. So where all our social medias are, and I'm sure I'll do probably some outro video that's going to show up here in just a few seconds. But all right, that is the end of RBTE Roundtable 1. Like I said, we talked very briefly about a record store day and just, you know, a whole bunch of just different topics that were just kind of, we were going off the cuff, kind of riffing. So it is Sunday at the time that the beginning of this video and the end of this video is out. And of course I did say, I hope I can pick up, you know, the Eric Carr vinyl and the CD. That might be kind of hard. And I was looking for a Van Halen album. I had about 4 or 5 other things that I wanted to get, but money doesn't grow on trees, so you got to be able to pick and choose. And one of those things did have a beefy price tag. So God bless my wife for saying, okay, go pick up that other thing. So let me show you the other thing first. So I got it off to the side here. One thing that I was wanting to get, I am a Van Halen, Van Hagar fan. So I was able to pick up right here, right now, the 4 LP set, Record Store Day exclusive. So, you know, all those people that weren't picking up Taylor Swift, there were some other bigger things that some of us were after, and all of us rockers, at least for the 80s and 90s. If you were a Van Halen fan from when I grew up, I came into Van Halen right at the tail end of 1984. So yes, I mean, I do like the David Lee Roth stuff, but my Van Halen starts with Sammy Hagar. And I was so glad that they chose this. I mean, this is you might have thought they would have done 5150, but I do believe this is going to come out. So if you missed it on Record Store Day, I think this was in pretty decent quantities at places, but this is a red vinyl here. So I'm going to attempt to open it up. I've already got it sleeved inside, but I'll pull out one of them. So I believe all future releases of this album, again, I haven't seen it 100%. I'll just pull it out here and we'll take it out of the sleeve. But this is on red vinyl, so I think all future releases will be available on black vinyl. So if people were like, "Oh, I missed the Record Store Day," version of this, I think this is going to come out later. And I believe, like the other albums in the Van Halen catalog, that they'll like they did with the first Van Halen album, that they just went in chronological order as far as release. So I think it's going to be the same way with the samey stuff. Again, I'll bag this here just a second. So the other thing that I got, I said I really hope that I'm able to pick up the Eric Carr album. So I got to my local shop, which is about 45 minutes away from me, and I got up at 6 o'clock in the morning. My goal was to get my butt out of bed maybe at 5:30 and get to the record store. I thought I could be one of the first ones in line. It's not a bigger shop. It's a small, I would almost call it like a hole-in-the-wall record store. If you know about it, then, Gromie is the name of the record store, Gromie's. And he always does really well, but it's really kind of a hole-in-the-wall shop. In a small little city, so it's not like it was a big major city. And I've seen a lot of other people's pictures of their record stores with lines down around the block. Now, Gromie did have a decent line, but at the time the shop opened, I think they said they had 42 people in line, which was pretty good. I was 6th in line. I got to my shop at about 6:30 or so. So the fact that I was 6th in line is, we were sitting there for about 4 hours before the shop opened. People were like, "Oh, what are you looking to get? What are you looking to get?" So there were like 3 people ahead of me they were there for Taylor Swift, or they brought their daughter. Then there were some other people that said, "Oh, I'm looking to pick up Van Halen," or just, other things that weren't the 2 things that I was looking to pick up. So I thought, you know what? I think I've got an opportunity. And Gromie had taken pictures of all the albums for Record Store Day, and he showed the Eric Carr CD rather than the vinyl. And he had put on there, somebody said, "Oh, you have the CD." He said, "We have 2. He said, "Plus we have a decent amount of copies of the vinyl as well." So I thought, while being in line, I thought, well, there's 6 people ahead of me, and 3 of them are all, well, actually, 3 of them are Taylor Swift fans. So I thought they're not going to pick up Eric Carr, and the other couple, like, they might or whatever. So God bless the dude in front of me. The first thing he grabbed, he slid over, was the CD. So I was able to get the CD. This was only pressed for 500 copies in the US, as I toss it here. And it's already on eBay for ridiculous prices. As you can see, I've already got it out of the sleeve, and I realized I'm just missing there it is, the little obi that's attached to it. So I'm going to get, a little CD protector. So it's all cardboard. But I was telling somebody in line, I'm not one of those that, if I saw another one, I would keep it sealed to maybe do for a trade of another vinyl or CD that I'm missing out of my collection. But my attitude is always screw the other guy. I want to enjoy this, and I'm not buying it to set on it to sell for something else. I want to enjoy this. So this is, I think this third time this album has been released. It was in 99. Then it got a vinyl repressing in 2020, I think. And now another CD and another vinyl version of this. And when I first bought this in 1999, and here is the original right here. So this is what it originally looked like. I found this image online that the Carr family had done. I forget when the painting was done, but I found a version of it, and I printed it off, and I slid it over top of this version for a very long time because I thought, oh man, they should have put Eric's makeup on it, but maybe I understand why at the time that they didn't. So here we are 20 some odd years later, and we finally have a version, and all of the fonts match up, and the way that it's presented on the back looks like it came right out of 1978. This is so cool. It's on a very nice glossy paper, heavy cardstock. Some of these CD sleeves that aren't jewel case can be really flimsy. So I'll pull it out here. Here are the liner notes. So I believe this was remixed, or I shouldn't say, probably remixed, not a remix, but they remastered it because, 1999 has been, a couple years. So I think they just enhanced what they had done before. So it sounds fantastic. And it has, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new versions of songs, or 5 new songs that we've never heard of. So we'll review this on the show. And here is the CD. And the thing that is also so cool about this, if I can pull it out here, is the poster. Again, this looks like it leapt right out of 1978. And I feel like the poster is out of scale from the CD poster. You thought I would have had the CD of Gene or Paul or Peter to be able to put up side by side, because they open up as a 4-panel thing, and this is only a 2. But I would imagine if you could scale this right, that it would connect and carry on at least the aesthetic over. But nonetheless, the fact that they were able to kind of reproduce this as if Eric was in the band in 78 and gave him his own poster, that is so cool. It makes this even better. So, yes, I was able to pick up the actual LP itself. So you saw the back of it there. I mean, this looks amazing. Now, some people are kind of complaining a little bit that the scan of the cover isn't as high res as they like. I still really like it. I don't notice that much about it. Looking at it in person, getting the eyes of Eric Carr, you can look at that and go, that's Eric. So it's got a nice obi here. There is one of the vinyls there, the splatter. I'll pull this one out so you can see the second one. It's a clear. I love that center label. So very cool. And again, it has the poster and has some other liner notes in here. And we'll do a proper review of this on the show. And it might be, we've kind of keep putting off the Creatures. Let me set that down here. I do want to show you this really quick while I'm thinking about it. I do have Gene's 2014, so to be able to have them both up here as I hit the camera. Of course, I can't see, but even I'm going the wrong direction. There we go. Being able to see them side by side here. Let's do this, Rob. I mean, that's pretty darn cool. So if you have been following the channel, I've been putting up some Instagram pictures of the album and all 4 of them side by side. But I just want to be able to show that. Didn't do it very well here at the tail end of this video. But the fact that we recorded this the night before Record Store Day, Brant and I had done a little Poughkeepsie talk in there on his channel. And that is going to be the next thing that we are going to do on this channel for our next podcast. I think we're still going to push off creatures a little bit. We'll definitely do Poughkeepsie in our next audio podcast. We might slip in the Eric Carr thing and maybe eventually get to creatures. I know we want to talk about the 70s Kiss comic book and kind of break form, go away from audio for a little bit and get into our comic roots. We've got a lot of stuff that we want to do, but again, this podcast may be intermittent off and on. It may only be once a month thing with just some things that we have going on here. But I wanted to do the beginning and intro for this video, get this all edited so you guys can enjoy this. Hopefully you guys had a good record store day. You were able to pick up that stuff. And then what else did you pick up for record store day? And of the topics we talked about, what are some of your thoughts? Let us know down in the comments. If you haven't liked the channel, go ahead and do that. It helps support the show and gets more word out there that you guys are enjoying the content we're putting out. On the behalf of Nick and Nico and our special guest, Brant from In My Head Podcast, I'm Rob, and you've been watching Right Between the Ice podcast. We'll see you in the next episode. Take care. Bye.